there, this review is for The Wizard of Linn by A E van Vogt. I've got a few Van Vogts on my to read shelf, for ones that I have read but so long ago they're due a reread. This one I got recently and I love this cover, and it jumped way ahead onto my reading list. So you've got this strange metal futuristic armor with a 6-pack that might even be an 8-pack, we aren't sure, and it's brilliant green. We've got a starry background. We've probably got a starry background behind it. It looks like that now, but it could just be that the cover's in such terrible condition. And you've got the trodden masses at his feet or something like that. Anyway, in poor condition, can barely read the spine, etc, etc. But I bought it and I was in the mood for a Van Vogt. I haven't read any for a while, so I thought I'd pick this one. It may not have been the best decision. This was not, in my estimation, a particularly good book at all. I'd only probably go 2 out of 5 stars, with a certain amount of feeling like I'm being kind. Part of the not good about it, though, is my bad, in that I failed to read the back well. Admittedly, the back is not in great condition, but I should still have been able to see the bit where it says up here, Van Vogt's stunning sequel for Empire of the Storm, with that strange face underneath it. I didn't really do that, so I read it cold. And really, really early on, it becomes very clear that it's a sequel. Not in itself probably the main problem. It is a bit of a problem for this book, but no, for overall, that's not why it has fewer stars. By the way, do not believe whatever the back of this book or Goodreads tells you this story is about. Believe me instead. I'm trustworthy, random person on the internet. One of my problems with what it says at the back is that it talks about Lord Clain Linn, ruler of Earth. And Lord Clain Linn, who exists in this book and the previous one, is not ruler of the Earth and has not been in either one of them until, the last few pages at the end. I am going to spoiler this. I don't think a book that was first serialized in the 1950s in fantasy and science fiction, I think it was. Astounding Science Fiction. First serialized as a magazine, Astounding Science Fiction, 1950. But then 1962 by Ace Books. This was a fix-up that Van Vogt did. And the fact that it's a fix-up really stands out in a lot of ways that, if you're used to fix-ups, won't really bother you. Anyhow, so what happens in this book? Well, we start off with a fairly clear knowledge that Earth is in a sort of post-apocalyptic, not quite dystopian, but it has a strange sort of culture. So the way the Earth went down this time was not entirely due to our own fault. We were attacked by a spacefaring alien race called the Riss. There was some nuclear fun and games thrown around, and a lot of devastation of the culture that we knew. So what's emerged is this strange, apparently under one world government called the Lord Advisor, being the leader of the planetary Earth government. You've got this culture that's doing okay, really. It's got cities and towns, it's got all the things, it's got lords and nobles, and it's got politics and government, all the things we really love, right? And it's got strange levels of tech. So we're told that any man can build a simple spaceship, and they do, and they travel between the stars. So 1950s, when this was written, the planets of the solar system were still up for grabs in terms of science fiction, having colonies there. So there's colonies on Mars, the Moon, Europa, one of the moons of Jupiter. There's these colonies all through the solar system, which haven't been cut off from Earth because of these spaceships that any man can build. On the other hand, there's a whole lot of things they don't have. They seem to have lost mass communication, and a big point is made of that in this book, is that they have no way of communicating over distance. And they does say this in the back of the book, but it makes it completely the wrong way around. Now, the risks are the initiation of this story, because a huge spaceship of their making comes and hovers around Mars, checking out all the settlements, upsetting the residents, and being of some concern to the governor of the planet. The governor of the planet sends a whole heap of warnings down to Earth, but of course warnings are in the form of letters that go on the spaceship to be given to the ruler. They don't arrive terribly soon, and they're not taking an awful lot of attention to. Humanity, as portrayed by Van Vogt in this book, is very, very apt to ignore things that will get it killed. So that's the situation. We've got our chief advisor, what do they call him? Speaker, Geron, Lord Advisor of Linn. That's it, Lord Advisor. Geron, Lord Advisor of Linn, who starts off as Lord Advisorship in this one, is actually the brother of our main protagonist, who is indeed Lord Claire Lynn. Now, Lord Claire Lynn was obviously seriously introduced in the previous book, which I didn't read. In this, he keeps being referred to as a mutation, which I suppose we didn't know mutants as well back in 1950. We didn't know about the X-Men and Charles Xavier. A mutant was a mutation. So he gets referred to as a mutation all the way through. And honestly, our Lord Clune Lynn is one of the main problems with this book. If he's a mutation or mutant or in any way unusual, we are yet to see it. We're told that he's got physical malform. He is physically malformed, but he always wears these temple robes, so we never see it and we're never told what it is. We're told that he's incredibly smart, which is a theme that Van Vogt loves. He is the super mind, can do anything. We don't see that. We see someone who's a little bit nervous, a little bit hesitant, and has all these fancies, and some of them turn out and some of them don't. As a mastermind, this guy is one of the most complete failures, falling incredibly flat. It all turns out okay for him, but at no point does Van Vogt persuade us that it's due to his actions rather than accidents. Okay, so this mutation, who's the brother of the Lord Speaker of the planet, we find out that in the last book he got a lot of support and could have taken over the government, but he didn't. Instead, his brother's there, and he's being manipulated by his wife, who's given him lots of children. She's being manipulated by a political factor who don't want our mutation in charge. All of this is happening. So when Geron gets information from Mars that the risks are coming back, he does not very much. Clune gives him examples of things that could be done. Klein gives him examples of things that could be done, and I don't think they are being done. Then Geron's assassinated, and his meddling wife makes sure that the government elects his 17-year-old son as next speaker. Klein was in position to do something about that, but he doesn't bother. He wanders off, grabs a spaceship that he's taken over, which should have been exciting, but ended up being sadly anticlimactic. Now then we've got these barbarians whose leader's name is something like Cinzano. It's got too many Z's in it and I can't pronounce it. I'm not sure I'm meant to. Now he was apparently captured by Clune in the last book as well, and they've been in a sort of unofficial captivity, he and all his barbarians from Europa. Instead of doing something sensible about having a huge marching horde trying to take over your planet, we'll just pop them on a mountaintop and let them do their thing. Well, Clune scoops up Cinzano and all his horde of barbarians, and they all get on top of into this spaceship, and they go romping around the galaxy just as the Riss arrive at Earth to try and take over. They find a planet which is settled by humans way back, and they've got psi powers, and have got a peace covenant with the Riss, kind of. and we fluff around there for a while. Then he goes off to find another planet where the Riss are from, and he finds more humans living side by side there, gets a bit more tech, and wanders back to Earth just in time to be this Deus Ex Machina who saves the whole Earth from being conquered by the Riss. Now, along the way, to give him his due, Van Vogt does insert a lot of tech. Van Vogt likes tech a lot. He doesn't always over-describe it, but you've got things like an amazing sphere that floats up and down and can do things with matter, either turn it into gas or turn it away. It can do things, and the story behind how it does that and what it is actually really interesting. Later on, when we're on our way to somewhere 9 months distant while the Riss are romping over the Earth, because that makes sense, our clone guy starts investigating the spaceship and finds signs that indicate that the Riss are in the same situation as humans, where we've got lots of tech and we may be able to build simple spaceships. But we don't really understand the technology behind them because too much information has been lost. So the Riss spaceships too seem to be degrading in some ways in some places and not being repaired. So he assumes that the loss of technology has happened across both the species as a result of this massive war that they had way back when. And there are some other good conclusions that he draws. Clune's mighty majestic powers that we never see are apparently due to the fact that he went into training with the temple. So he read lots of books and he found out lots of tech and he found out about atoms and things. And yeah, that's the book. Comes back to Earth, saves everyone. The main problems are the writing. Our main character is not likable. He is not comprehensible. He is not convincing in any way as a smart guy. He's convincing as a slightly weedy, wobbly guy who was written without much conviction. The plot routinely makes no sense because Clune taking his spaceship on a wandering tour of the universe is... I don't know what that was all about. The barbarian he takes with him, Cinzano, who's meant to be this total antagonist who hates him but eventually becomes his friend because he has bowed down to the superior knowledge of Clune. It's like eminently unconvincing. So it's not a good book. It's just not well written. The concepts are great. The world building has potential. The characters are so terrifyingly two-dimensional that you wince when you're reading them. But well, I would give it 2 out of 5 stars, feeling very generous. And it is not a good book. It does have that Van Vogt style of writing. So who I would recommend this to is people who are really, really crazy mad about Van Vogt, the way I am about Roger Zelazny, and feel the need to read every single one. I think there's enough of his prose and his base concepts in it to keep you entertained. Other than that, the only people I can think of who would really get much from this book is someone who's writing a thesis or something on 50s magazine serializations being mashed up into books. Now, there are some interesting things about Van Vogt surrounding this. Van Vogt does always is sympathetic to the notion of absolute memory and individuals with exceptional brain power being the true heroes no matter what their physical condition. And he certainly does that here. He does it a lot. Since this was a mashup, it was done during the period where Van Vogt wasn't really working on anything except mashups. There was a period from 1951 to 1961 where he and his wife, I think, got right into Dianetics. They never sidestepped into Scientology, but they were right into the Dianetics. They started up their own organization. And for that period, he didn't really do any new writing that I've ever heard of. I believe he just did mashups and improvements to other series, and he did a few of those, and this is one of them. Now, in it come a couple of fascinations that he had at the time. One of them I think is very much part of Dianetics and certainly part of the 50s. All these strange notions about development of babies and children, how their development is programmed and triggered, and how you could take a baby and start them off on supermind characteristics early on. There were a lot of Dianetics tactics to make you more than you actually are, and that was one of them. Another interest in that time of Van Vogt's was hypnotism, and hypnotism does make a tiny little appearance in the back of this. So I guess it also shows some of his fascination with Roman imperial history, which he later brought out a not very good book on. Yeah, so I think I've meandered myself into an ending of this one. It's not a great Van Vogt. If you haven't read Van Vogt, I do not think you should make this the first one. If you do not much care for Van Vogt, but you're looking for a book that will make you like his work, I would not go with this one. Even if you love Van Vogt and you really, really want to read this one, definitely read this strange Empire of the what is it? Motto? Atom. Empire of the Atom. Read that one first, and you might be able to make your way through this one with a bit more enjoyment. I didn't enjoy it. Some of the concepts were good. All of the writing was bad. None of the characters really existed. I did not like it, Sam. I did not like it. I did not like it in the dark. I did not like it in the park. I did not like it anywhere. Did like the artwork. Well, that's it for me and Van Gogh. Certainly for me and the Wizard of Linn, but that's probably it for me and A E van Vogt for a couple of months. I'm going to need palette cleansers before I can look at this author's name with a completely serene mind. Have a great day. Read good books. Don't read this one. There's many better ones out there. Read one of those. Have a good day.